Hello? Wow, that's embarrassing, guys. I think I've been doing this entire live stream up until now with no audio. Can you guys hear me now? Yo, Omari, you're a lifesaver, man. I appreciate it, bro. All right, let's cover really quickly what I've been talking about, some nonsense that you guys couldn't hear. We're going to be taking my website, which is uxhacks.com, and we're going to set up a WordPress theme development workflow. So we're going to go and take this website. We went ahead and created a staging environment here in our host, um, which is just a copy of our production environment. And we're going to be working here in this staging environment. That way, we have our live website. We're not touching our live website. Our customers, our users, they're still going to experience this live website. We're going to go ahead and push changes over to the staging website to check them before we actually go and push it up to production, make it live, and to make the process easier for us to actually go in and develop, so we're not constantly pushing files up to the server and then refreshing the browser to check to see everything looks okay. We're actually going to set up a local development workflow, meaning we're going to take whatever is on that staging environment, we're going to duplicate it on our local environment on our computer. We're going to work on our computer, and then we're going to push up the code over to the server. And the way that we're going to do that is using Git. So using Git, I just went really quickly here into github.com, created a new repository, and this is where all the code for our WordPress theme is going to live. Now, right now, our WordPress website just uses the default 2020 theme. So we're going to actually set up a child theme where we'll go and make all of the changes. And that's the child theme that we're going to be committing here over to our GitHub. Okay, so we're using this tool called Local WP, or it used to be called Local by Flywheel. WP Engine then bought Flywheel. Now it's just called Local. It's a really great local development environment tool. So we've got this installed, and we're going to connect that. We're going to just create a blank environment. That's what we're doing now, right? So let's go. Again, click add local site in local. We're going to create a new blank website. We're going to use the preferred settings for username and password. We're just going to say root and root. We're not even going to touch the email. We're going to click add site. That's going to go ahead and just create a local WordPress installation on our computer for us to work on. So I'm going to go ahead and allow permissions. Now you can see it says it's downloading WordPress. It's adding WordPress. It's going to go ahead and configure the base WordPress install. And when we go and we open this up, we should see just kind of like a blank 2021 theme, right? Which is what you get when you install any other WordPress website. When we went and installed the staging environment, it's exactly what we saw, just this blank 2021 theme, right? So now we went and we set up a environment. We copied the environment down from production. So we went and we grabbed the live environment, the live website, and we said, hey, grab that, all the files, all the folders, all of what's in the database, pull that down into the staging environment and make a carbon copy of that website. So that's what we did. We have now a carbon copy. If we go and we try to visit that website. Let's see, what was it? uxhstaging.wpengine.com. Hopefully if we refresh this, there we go. Now we've got a copy of our regular website. Sorry, I was zoomed out a little bit on the original website. So you can see here, this is the staging environment. It's exactly the same as the live environment, right? The only difference is, again, when we make changes here to the staging environment, our users are not going to see that until we push it up. So we're free to kind of use this space to check our code, check our work, make sure everything is ready before we actually go and commit it. So now that we've got that set up, let's go and take that staging environment, and we just want to duplicate it here in our local environment. And the way that we do that using local is very, very easily. We can go ahead and in this bottom part, we can connect to a host. And here you can see I have my Flywheel account and my WP Engine account already set up, right? If you want to set it up, all you have to do is click add another host, and then you can go and log in as a specific user to that account. You can also set up API keys. If you're interested in how to do that, go check out the documentation and it'll walk you through it step by step. If you guys are interested in a video on how to actually, set up local, fresh, and how to actually, connect to an environment, all that good stuff, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to put together a tutorial for you guys. So we're just going to go ahead and click select for WP Engine. That's going to connect to my WP Engine account. Now we're going to try to pull down from the cloud, which you can see here, this little icon. We're going to pull from WP Engine. Now we're going to select our website, which is UX Hacks, and we're going to select the environment that we just created, that we just made a copy of the live website from, which is the staging environment, right? And we're going to go ahead and click include database. Now we're going to go and hit that pull button, and it's going to go and it's going to ping that server, and it's going to download and extract all the files that exist on that server, and it's going to recreate that WordPress environment that we have on that staging site over on our local machine. So now we're going to have a live website, a staging website, and a local website, right? And the way the workflow is going to work is we're going to make changes on our computer locally. When we're happy with those changes, we're going to commit them up to GitHub, right? And we're going to store all the changes in a code repository. And then we're going to just sync that local environment with the staging environment, right? And make sure that everything that we did on the local website shows up on the staging website, right? Once we have the staging website in a place where we're like, okay, cool, all the changes are here, this is exactly what we want our customers to see, then we can go ahead and we could push up from the staging environment over to the live environment. So hopefully that makes sense. That's kind of like the workflow in a nutshell. But understanding this workflow is a really huge deal for anybody who works on websites or anybody who owns a web design or development agency the way that I do. And the reason being is that you're going to have to be creating these environments a lot if you're going to have people working on different kinds of websites. So for example, anytime that I have an employee or a contractor that is working on a website, I don't have them touching the live code on the client site, right? Because if they make a mistake, and they definitely could make a mistake, right? These guys are contractors. They work on totally different time zones. So if they make a mistake, I'm probably going to be asleep, and we're not going to be able to catch that until the next day. And chances are the client is going to catch that mistake before we're able to catch that mistake. And that's not what we ever want to see. So we have a process where they work on their local environment, right? They can do whatever they need to do on that local environment. And when they're ready to have their work reviewed, then they push up to that staging environment, right? In that staging environment, that's where our team actually goes, looks at the work and says, hey, this needs to change, or hey, this is okay. And then, and only then, once we've gone through that QA phase, will we actually go and patch the live server with the changes. What's up, Tommy? Welcome to the stream, man. So now let's go ahead and click open site, and we should see 3 carbon copies of the same website. We've got our live website, uxhacks.com. We've got our staging website, uxstaging.wpengine.com. And in just a second, we should see our local website, which is uxhacks.local, right? So we've got our 3 different environments, and now we're able to start making changes. Tommy, that's great to hear, man. I'm glad you got some use out of that Shopify guide. It was actually one of the first times in a long time that I worked on a Shopify theme, but I had a lot of fun, man. So there are a few things that we're going to need to do here on this local environment. And the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to log in. So hopefully I can remember some password stuff. Oh, luckily, Chrome just remembers it for me. There we go. So now we can go and log into our local environment. And it's really important that you just keep an eye on which URL you're working on. The last thing you want to do is think that you're working on your local environment and you're actually making changes to the live website. So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and close the live website because we're not going to touch this at all for the rest of the stream. We're going to be working exclusively on staging unless we make a change and we want to push it up at the very, very end. But for now, staging, and then we're only logged in on our local environment. It's a huge mess back here. Apologies, but we'll just carry on. Let's go and check out what themes we currently have. Go to Appearance Themes. And here you can see we have the 2020 as the active theme. We have here a child theme called 2020 Child. I'm going to go ahead and delete this. And we're going to go through the process now of setting up a child theme, a blank child theme, so that we can make modifications to this theme. And the reason being is currently, if we wanted to go and, for example, create a new block for this page, there's two ways that we could do it correctly. And there's one way that is just wrong. And the way that is just wrong is to come into your theme editor or go into your files and start editing your theme directly here. The reason that this is wrong is that one day you might come onto your website, you might log on, and it might say, hey, you've got 18 updates, which is exactly what's going on right now. And a lot of them may be plugins, but every once in a while, you'll get a theme update, right? And it might be a security thing, so you might have to make that update. Now, if you go and make changes to your theme, right? Just start making these changes, and then you go one day and forget that you made those changes and click the update button on your theme. Well, guess what? All of the files that you changed on your website, they're all going to get restored to what it used to be, right? Or at least it's going to sync up with what it currently is from the people who are managing the theme, which means all that work that you did, totally lost. The way to get around this in WordPress is by creating a child theme. So a child theme essentially allows us to say, hey, we still want you to use the 2020 theme, but I also want you to go and prioritize any files that are inside of this folder. So if we have a header.php file, for example, I want you to use mine and not this one, right? So don't use the original header.php. I want you to use the child theme's header.php. So this is a really important concept to master if you're going to be doing any kind of WordPress development. So let's go in and just start creating a child theme. And one of the easiest ways to do that for me is to just go open up local. I'll go and hit this button. It'll open up the file for the location. Then I can go ahead and just navigate again to where we were, WP Content Themes. And we're going to create a new folder. We're going to call this 2020 Child. Now I'm going to right click that and I'm going to open it with code. That's going to open up my code editor, which is VS Code. And now we've got this blank folder. It's got nothing in it. But the good news is that I think there's only one file that is needed to have a child theme work, and that is a style.css file. We can confirm that really quickly. If you want a super fast and easy way to create a child theme, if you just search the name of the theme and then the word child theme, 9 times out of 10, there's going to be a place online where you can actually just download it. And it's usually just a super simple file that has just a blank style sheet for you. So if I go and I actually use this website and I click download 2020 child theme, you'll see exactly what I mean. Open this up. Inside, we've got the folder. And then we've got a screenshot. So there's two files, a screenshot, which is what image it shows, and this is optional. And the second is just a CSS file. And here you can see we've got some very basic info, and then we're importing the original CSS. So we're just gonna copy that over into our style.css that we created. For author, we're gonna change this. We're going to save it. And I'm just going to check to make sure let's see, in this folder that we were in, that we're referencing the correct file. So in this case, folder 2020, and then the file is style.css. Yep. So now in theory, we should be able to save this, and then we should be able to come into our backend. Where are we at? Into our themes, and we should see now a 2020 child theme, right? There's no screenshot file, which means that there's no image, but that's okay, right? If we wanted to change that, we can very easily just create an image and name it screenshot.jpg, and it'll go and get added there. For now, I'm gonna hit activate, and we're gonna see what happens to our website, right? We're gonna see if it actually grabs this parent style sheet and imports it or not. So let's go check out the site. Now you can see that we've lost all of our styles, right? And this is exactly the issue I was having last time, where if I inspect the style sheet, it's there, but it's just different. Why is it so different? Let's again look at the original, and I just want to see if this is actually the right file, and it looks like it. Oh, actually, you know what? I remember why this happened now. And the reason that this happened is because if we go into our customized settings, there are a few settings here that didn't get passed over. It's really, really annoying the way that this happens. It really depends on the theme. If you're using a premium theme, there's a lot of export options, export and import options for theme settings like this, so you don't have to go through this process. But because we're just using this 2020 version, that means that some of these options, like colors, for example, this didn't come through. So we're gonna go into our staging environment right here, and we're gonna log in, and we're just gonna make a couple changes and copy some of these settings over. I'm gonna open this up in another window, and I'm just gonna put it over to my left. So here on the left side, we've got the local website, and then here on the right side, we've got the staging website. And the staging website actually has, yeah, I don't remember the password. Hold up, let me grab that in another window really quick. There we go. And we're just gonna go through these settings one by one and update them. You could probably figure out a better way to do this, especially if you find out where in the database some of these things are stored. But for the sake of time, let's just go and make some of these changes now. Open up our customizer and colors. Let's just grab this background color, add that in. Header and footer, that stays. Done. Theme options, show search and header, remove that. Change this to summary, done. Cover template, overlay background, change the color. There we go. Background image none. And if you guys are interested in seeing how you would actually go and export these settings from the database, let me know in the comments, because we can definitely figure that out and film a short video for you guys. Menus, these are the same. You know, site identity didn't come through. That logo didn't come through. Some things did and some things didn't, which is really weird, but that's WordPress, man. Oh, 1 second, guys. Set up the logo, skip cropping. Oh, why is it so giant? um, let's see. Yeah, it's the same image. Oh, because I have to click Retina logo. There we go. Content options, these stay the same. Widgets, not using any widgets really. Yeah. Homepage settings, that stayed the same. WooCommerce stuff we're not worried about. So let's go ahead and hit publish on our local website. And now our local site should look exactly like the staging site. Let's refresh this. All right. We still got some weird stuff going on here with button styles, it looks like. So let's go back into the customizer and see what we missed. Now, the primary color is set to default, but I don't think that's right. Even if it might be set to default on this, I know that the primary color is this blue. So I'm gonna try setting that up. Well, the fact that this doesn't take a hex code though sucks. I can't really get the right color. And there's no place for me to set what that default color is. So you know what? This is a good opportunity to test out our new style sheet that we created in the child theme. So let's do that, guys. We want to make sure that our buttons are blue, right? Right now, our buttons are red. So we're gonna go into this style sheet that has nothing except this import URL, and we're gonna start adding in some stuff. Now this is code that I copied from the block that we're essentially grabbing from the parent theme, right? So if we come in here, we copy that and we search the parent theme for it. Oh, so this color is being sent in. Let me see something. So here you can see the color that it's actually passing in. But somehow it changes to this. The question that I have is where that color is coming from. Because if I search that color here in the parent style sheet, I don't find it. Right? Which means that this color exists somewhere in the database. Not sure where though. So what we're gonna do really quickly just to find where it's at is we're gonna run a search and replace. So there's a plugin that you could use for this called Better Search and Replace. There it is, Better Search Replace. gonna go ahead and install that. Activate it. Okay, now that that's been activated, we'll go to Tools, Better Search and Replace. Now let's look inside of our database for this number. We're gonna search everywhere, and we're gonna leave it as a dry run. And it's just gonna tell us where in our database this number or this hex code exists. That way we'll be able to just kind of change it with the correct hex code. Okay, it says 6 cells were found that need to be updated. If we click here, we can see where they are. We can see that 2 are in WP posts and 2 are in WP options. So in WP options, there are 4 instances where that number exists. I want to see why. So I'm going to go into local and I'm going to open up the database. And the way that we do that is just by clicking database and then opening add minor. Now, this might look a little overwhelming for you if you have never worked on databases. Don't be scared, all right? We're just gonna go into the table that it told us it was in, WP options. So we're gonna go here on the left-hand side, and we're gonna find WP options. WP options. We're gonna click select data, and this is gonna show us what's inside. Now inside of this, I'm gonna go ahead and hit search. We're gonna search for that number. No rows. All right, let's go back to the data. I'm gonna hit export. I'm gonna export as a CSV. It's gonna make it a little easier for me to find things. There we go. So here we can see this data hash right here has that hex code. So does this one, and that one. All right, what we're gonna try to do, and we'll see, because I don't know if this will work, but we're going to grab the correct color we want it to be, which is this blue, and we're gonna go ahead and run the search and replace. We're gonna uncheck dry run, and we're gonna run it. This is gonna go into our database, and it's gonna replace all instances of this with the correct number or code. And we'll see what that does. There's still a few things that we need to kind of play with, like the centering of the button, and then making sure that this is not full width. But we'll see why some of our custom styles didn't get applied. It might have to do with like the ID that was used for the form. So let's go and refresh our local site. Now you can see that we've changed the button colors. So we've gone into our database and we've said, hey, we actually want to change that color from the red into the blue. And now we can see that that's done, but it's still not looking right. So let's take a look really quickly at what is giving this some of the styling that it has. So for example, what is limiting the width on this? See, this is display flex. Is this in our child theme? So it looks like none of our custom CSS got piped in. So I'm just gonna go and check additional CSS. Yeah, that's what it is. So here you can see when we made our changes over, it also just got rid of all the additional CSS that we had. If we come into our staging, we can go and just copy that really quick. So appearance, customize, additional CSS. Let's just copy all this CSS over. And there's a good chance that we didn't have to go through this better search and replace, and that would have been fixed when I pasted in the CSS. Yep. But that's okay. We changed some theme settings, and then luckily the CSS kind of handles everything else for us. So hit publish. Now in theory, I'm gonna close all this stuff for now. But in theory, our local website should look exactly like our staging website once again, even though we've got a child theme set up. So now we've got the right colors, the right sizing, the right spacing. And here's the staging site, looks exactly the same. Cool. So now we've got, and we can delete this, we've got our child theme here. And one of the things that I want to do is I just want to create an initial commit. And the initial commit is just a way for us to save our initial work here in GitHub or in whatever repository tool you're using. So I use GitHub, you can use Bitbucket, there's a bunch of different ones. But all you need to do is grab this URL, and then we're just gonna follow these instructions really quickly. So I'm going to open up terminal inside of VS Code, terminal, new terminal. That'll give me this terminal. I'm gonna go and type in git init. That's gonna initialize a Git repository. If you don't have Git installed, you don't know about Git, you might need to go watch some videos about it. This is not a Git tutorial, unfortunately. If you want one of those tutorials from me, just let me know. Leave me a comment. I'd be happy to put one of those together. But for now, you should have a basic understanding of how to use Git. If not, definitely check out some tutorials. It's actually a deal breaker. We no longer work with developers who are not fluent in Git, just because they're not able to collaborate with us, right? When we're working on projects, when we're working on code repositories, especially large projects, we want to be able to collaborate. We want to be able to push our work up and make sure that it's not getting overwritten by other developers, and that's exactly what Git does. So git init, initialize the Git repository. We're gonna git remote add origin, and we're gonna paste in the URL. Then we're going to run git status. That's gonna tell us what's here. We're gonna go ahead and just do git add style.css. Then we're gonna do git commit, add a message, and the message is gonna be initializing empty child theme. Now we're gonna push that up. Git push origin master. Now when we refresh GitHub, instead of seeing this intro message, we should see the file, style.css. Very cool. So now that that's done, and we might have to change the structure a little bit. I might need to either rename this or create a folder inside called 2020-child. But because if not, when we download zip, the folder is uxh-master. But we could always rename it before uploading the theme. Should be fine. So now we've got this. Let's go in and actually build a block. Um, I think that would be a really good use of our time today. So you can see how we would actually go build our own custom block here in our child theme, and then how we can actually push that up to our live website through staging. So let's do that. And I know exactly what kind of pattern I want to create. I think it's gonna have to be a testimonial pattern, right? Because we don't have any customer testimonials. I think that's like a very easy thing that we can kind of create in a few minutes. That's not gonna take up just a ton of our time. So let's go to edit page and let's take a look at how this page is currently set up. Sorry for the slow load time, guys. Running the local environment while live streaming is not super effective. So it's like there's some issues here with this block. There we go. Okay, so we want to be able to essentially add a block, let's say right here, for a testimonial. Right now we just have the default Gutenberg blocks and then some blocks that are coming from, I think Jetpack are the green ones. But it doesn't really give us access to anything like a testimonial that I can see. And a lot of people will just say, well, David, why don't we just go and download like a front-end page builder? They have hundreds of different components. And to that I would respond, well, they have hundreds of different components. And we don't need all of those components. We just want the one. We don't want all that extra code and all the extra dependencies added to our website. We just want to create one block, right? And it shouldn't be too difficult to create it, even without code. But you definitely don't need, in my opinion, you don't need a page builder for something like this. You should be able to come in here, do columns, let's say 3 columns. Okay, so we've got these 3 columns, and if we wanted to, we could add just plain text testimonials. Like, we don't even need to create a pattern for this using the new Gutenberg editor. But we don't want to come in and kind of go and manually do this every single time. So let's grab one of our testimonials. Actually, if we search UX hacks now. Well, that was cool. I've never seen this before. They know I'm a website designer in Miami, Florida. Very cool. Oh, of course. My Google business. All right, so here's a great testimonial. I'm just going to copy and paste it. We're going to go ahead and just kind of paste that in there. And we're going to do this in plain text before we go and actually just start writing it out. And that'll just kind of give us a good idea of what we're working with in terms of content. kind of let me try a few different things as well. So seeing what existing patterns could be used for this before we go and actually start trying to build something, I think is an important step. I'm just gonna add a third somewhere. So I'm gonna go ahead and update that. I tried 3 different blocks to see what they look like here. We tried a quote block, a pull quote block, and a verse block. I'm just gonna hit view page. I'm gonna see what that looks like. And it looks terrible, no surprise here. Right. Let's take a look at our columns. Let's see what happens if we set it to full width. We're just experimenting, right? See, I like the pull quote, I think, the best. It just makes the most sense, I think. So I'm gonna just duplicate one and drag that into that column, that empty column we have. There we go. Okay. So let's go ahead and save that. And let's take a look. Oh, did that not save, guys? There we go. So now we've got these 3 testimonials. But there's a lot here that we're just missing, in my opinion. I'd love to see a photo of the person that's talking. I feel like the text is a little bit too big also. There's also just nothing that's telling me like these are testimonials. It's just like more text when you scroll down. You could see that it's a quote because of this, but I think that we could definitely improve the design a little bit. And it's still kind of early, so why don't we jump into Adobe Xd and let's just really quickly redesign this, right? Let's do things the right way. Let's actually go jump in, redesign this. We'll go and then create it in HTML, create the block, and then we can actually push that up. So I'm gonna go, I took a screenshot using this Chrome extension that I like called Go Full Page. It's just stitches together the entire page into a single screenshot for you. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna open Adobe Xd now. And we're just gonna create a new file. Web 1920. Then I'm gonna go and just grab that file that we just grabbed. Downloads, screen capture. That's all the coffee coming through me. All right. Now here we've got the actual page. And the reason I like to do this is I like to work with kind of like a carbon copy of what we're gonna be actually working with on the website. That way there's no surprises. And it kind of just makes things easier for me to personally just say, hey, here's the section we're designing. go ahead and just design over it. And I can make a copy here and just have a copy that way. But that way we're kind of working with the actual mock-up here. And we could say, hey, you know, let's try to keep inside of this grid if possible. Gotta adjust this grid a little bit here. There we go. I just want to use the grid that we're already using on the site as much as possible. So I'm here kind of playing with some of these options. There we go. Now we've got a much more realistic grid to what we're dealing with now. It's still not perfect. Actually, no, hold on. You know what? That's good enough. I don't want to spend too much time here. So let's go ahead and let's just design a square here. And what are some of the things that we need here? We want an image of the person giving the quote, right? I'm just gonna go ahead and use this plugin to randomly apply a photo. It's called UI Faces. Usually it'll really quickly just kind of grab a photo and paste it. Sometimes there are issues, but usually it works pretty well out of the box. Now we've got the actual testimonial. So let's just copy over the text really quickly. Let's paste that in. I'm also going to change it to auto height, and we're going to reduce the width quite a bit. Now we're going to want to just make sure that we're kind of consistent in terms of the styling. So I'm going to really quickly inspect the website. So I'm going to right click inspect. Now we're going to take a look at some of these text settings here. So go to computed, see what font family we're using. This is Intervar. Kind of want to see what we're using all throughout. Intervar, and Poppins for the headings. It's actually interesting. I didn't realize that we're using two different headings here. We've got Poppins only applied to the H1s when it should be applied to H1 through H6. So we'll probably need to change that. For the body text, also using Poppins. Okay, so we'll use Poppins, and then in terms of font size, this probably a little too big, but I want to know where we're at right now. 32 pixels. Okay. So let's try that really quick. We'll do Poppins. We'll do 32. And we'll do bold. Oh, and the color, of course. So let's just grab this color. Color, here we go. So in order to use this 32 font, let's see how wide we would need to get these testimonials. is pretty wide. All right, I want to grab a similar kind of quotation to this. So let's see what they're doing. Okay. It doesn't tell me what font they're using, but I'm sure it's the Intervar font that is being used elsewhere. So let's see. I'm just trying to see if this has the right quotation symbol that I'm looking for. Yeah, it's definitely the Intervar, but I do like what the quotation styles look like. So I'm going to download this, but we're not going to use it anywhere else. We're just going to use the symbol for the quotation. One thing, I recently changed from Windows to, or from Mac over to PC. And one thing I hate is that you can't bulk install fonts. It's driving me crazy. Because a lot of times there'll be like 10 variations of a font weight. And on Mac, you can open them all and just hit install one and it'll install all of them. But Windows, you just got to do it one by one, which is huge pain. But my MacBook could not handle live streaming while working on heavy design files while running development servers. So this is where we're at. Small price to pay. All right, let's try that interfont here. There we go. And we just want to use the same blue we're using there. Okay, so here's one. My problem is I don't want to show just one testimonial. and I don't want it to be quite so large. So I'm going to duplicate this. We're going to down this font quite a bit, over from 32 down to 24. And we're going to reduce the width quite a bit as well. I'm going to try to bring this in. I'm just going to grab the other testimonial here. And it's important that you design with real content so that you can see how things are going to look. Oh, and I actually forgot the names here. So let's go and add their names in. Probably have to make these bigger. Okay. Another thing I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to open this in Photoshop. And I think we're going to rearrange a few things here. So what I want to see is what it would look like if we kind of rearrange these two things a little bit. So I'm just going to copy each of these elements individually in Photoshop and then paste them in to Adobe Xd. Now we've got these two elements that we can kind of move around freely. And I can just kind of put this yellow over everything. There we go. I'm gonna preview that. Yeah, I like this a little bit better. Just kind of have the call to action up higher. Because this is what generates leads. This is more for generating subscribers to the newsletter. And we've got super simple testimonial pattern. Yeah, if we had more time, I would honestly definitely keep playing with the style a little bit. So I'm not super happy with it. But for the sake of time, I think this is good enough. You know, really what it is I don't like the way this looks. It's hard for me to find quotation marks that I think look like quotation marks. I want to make it as obvious as possible for people to know that this is a quote. Kind of like this one. I'm going to duplicate it off the artboard. What I like to do is just turn these into paths, and then I can kind of scale them as needed. That way I can also move them closer together if I have to. I think we're just going to drop the quotation marks for now. We're spending too much time on things that they just don't matter. And one of the things I want to do is I don't want to just hit them with 2 testimonials. I want to get them with multiple testimonials if possible. And the reason being is we're going to actually take this and we're going to add a button to the bottom. So let's actually grab that. Now looking at this the way that I want it to be, which is like I want to stack probably a few of them. I actually don't like the top image because it doesn't give me a lot of space to work with. So we're going to actually play around with where this image is going to go. Let's try to pick some photos really quick. Okay. Let's preview what we got so far. Okay. I think that's pretty straightforward. Yeah, we can sit here and we can design variations all day, but I want to get to the good stuff, which is actually implementing this stuff. So let's just leave it at that. We can always go back and design new ones, design new blocks. No big deal. So we got our design. We're going to create a new block that can be dropped inside of columns. And we're going to call this our testimonial block. And the testimonial block is going to have just a couple of things, really. Also, I just want to make sure this text is centered. Right now, is spacing is all wrong. There we go. So that testimonial block that we're going to be creating is going to have 3 input fields that the user needs to fill out. They're going to need to fill out an image. They're going to have to fill out a testimonial text, and then the actual source. I'm just going to keep playing a little bit with the quotation mark, just because it really should have some sort of quotation mark, but I don't want it to be like such a big thing. I kind of want it to be subtle, I guess is how I would say it. You know, also, I don't want that to be a link because I don't want people to leave the web page to go elsewhere. So we're going to do it this way. Just leave it how it was. Again, a million ways that we could design this, but for the sake of time, we'll leave that as is. Okay, well, let's get started on actually coding this. I'm gonna go ahead, pull this Adobe Xd stuff over to my other monitor, just so that I have it there as a reference. Now let's go in and actually start coding this block. And there's a few different things that we're gonna have to get set up in order to do that. The first is we're going to have advanced custom fields set up. Now you can use something else. You can code your block completely from scratch. At the agency, we personally use advanced custom fields because it's faster, it's easier, and it's a lot simpler for us to make changes when the client wants something small updated. So most of our sites use advanced custom fields by default. I don't think, this site doesn't currently have it set up. So we're gonna actually go in and grab the advanced custom fields download. So you can go to advancedcustomfields.com. We have the pro version. They have a free version that you can use. It just has some limitations in terms of what blocks are available. But 80% of what you want to do, you can probably do with the free version. So I'm going to go to our licenses. I'm going to download the new one. And then we're just going to go add new. And we're going to install this Advanced Custom Fields plugin. Upload plugin. Drop that there. Install now. There's a second plugin that we own, which is an add-on actually. Let's see. And it's called ACF theme code. And I believe I have the pro version of this as well. And we're just going to install both of these. I'm going to activate the ACF one. We're going to download this other one. Oh, view details and download, sorry. Okay, let's download the latest version. And what this plugin does is when we create an advanced custom field panel, it'll just give us the code automatically. It's going to save us a lot of time for this specific stream so that we're not writing all the code by ourselves. This is also something that we give to just our developers in general. That way, it's a lot easier for them to actually go and create their own blocks and use that as a kind of starting point. So now we've got ACF installed, and then we've got this Theme Code Pro installed. This will create a custom fields panel. Now we can come in here and we can create a new block. But before that, we actually need to get a few things set up so that one, when we create an ACF block, what we want to be able to do is we want to export the blocks as JSON data objects automatically. That way, when we go and we change from local to staging, it automatically syncs those blocks in. Any changes that we make, it'll automatically get synced. If you don't do this step, that means that you're going to have to manually import and export blocks, which is never a good idea. So what we're gonna do, I'll close this stuff out now, is we're going to actually create a folder inside of this child theme, create new folder, and we're gonna call it acf.json. And then let's go and look up ACF JSON on Google. That'll take you to this local JSON resource. And this is the documentation that you need to follow if you want to actually go and set up the automatic saving and loading of the ACF blocks via JSON files. So this gives you all the code that you need. We actually already have this code on another project. So I'm just gonna go and check out how we did it for that. You can see here we've got our ACF JSON folder, and then each of our blocks are here inside of data hashes. So I believe we have an inc folder, and then we use an ACF blocks file that we create. And inside of that, we have this top part, right, where we go and actually set up the load point, right, and the save point. Then we can go and register our ACF block. So I'm gonna actually just copy this as a starting point. Feel free to pause if you need to, but if you are interested in this file, feel free to let me know. I'm happy to kind of share that with you if you go and leave me a comment or send me an email. I'm happy to get this along to you. But anyways, we're gonna create an ink folder, and inside of that, we're gonna create an what was the file name? Sorry about that. acf-blocks.php. There we go. So acf-blocks.php, and then this is gonna take that same code from this documentation, right? We're gonna create a save point, and we're gonna create a load point, and we're gonna use that to sync our changes automatically. So we're gonna paste that in, right? This is checking to see if ACF exists. If it does, we're just setting the path to the plugin, right? And we're adding the filter to load JSON. So this sets up the path, which is this acf-json folder that we created. If you created a different named folder, you would need to go and update this, right? Both for load and for save. But now that that's done, go ahead and save. And there's another piece of code that we're gonna wanna pull, and that is to register the ACF block types, right? So if you look up register ACF block on Google, you'll go and find two important links. The first is just a function to the ACF register block type, which you can dive in and actually see how this code actually works a little bit more in detail. But if you're like me and you just want it to work, they have this blocks resources page, and inside of this page you can actually get this exact code that we're using. You can see here this ACF init, and then it goes and allows us to, you know, create or register blocks. So we're gonna copy and paste this. It's the exact same code that we have here already. I think the only difference, let's see, is there a difference? The only difference is we have the action on the bottom here. But this is still a good starting point, so we're gonna go ahead and copy and paste this here into the bottom of our acf-blocks.php file. And now here's where we can actually register our testimonial block. Luckily, the sample that we copied from kind of did all of this for us. And here you can see the name, the title, the description. This render template is very important, so we're gonna get to that in a second. Category, icon, and then keywords. So keywords are what words you want to be able to have searchable in the backend. So if you search testimonial or you search quote, then this block will come out. Icon is what icon you want to represent it in the backend. Category is just to kind of keep them grouped. So you can have a lot of different blocks. Some of them may be for formatting, some of them may be for layout. You can kind of create your own category here. The render template is actually where it's looking to go and render this. So let's actually go and create a file. So go new folder on the top level. We're gonna name this template-parts. Inside of that, we're gonna go and create a new folder, and that folder is going to be called blocks. This is where all of our blocks are gonna live. Inside of that, we're gonna go and create another folder for this individual testimonial block. And then inside of that, we're gonna create a new file called testimonial.php. We're also gonna create another file called testimonial.css. And now we've got our PHP and our CSS file for our block. Okay, we've registered our block. Now we can go and write the PHP and the CSS code. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just going to check to make sure that everything is working. And I know that it's not going to work right now because we're not currently referencing this acf-blocks.php file. So we need to somehow reference this file and tell WordPress, hey, we want you to include everything that's in this file. the way that I would do this is by creating a functions.php file. And then inside of that, we can require once. And I'm just going to go and check the existing code that we have for other themes, just to make sure that that's how we're doing it. So actually we just do require get template directory, and then we point to the particular file. Gotta open up PHP. Now this may break the entire website. Let's go and take a look. And the reason this may break the entire website is because, well, first of all, this is looking at the parent theme. Get template directory looks at the parent. We want to look at the child. Yeah, I think we want to use style sheet directory URI, which is going to automatically pull in the current active style sheet, which is this one. So let's try that. And let's see if we get a different error this time. Got a different error. Oh, no, we still have the same one. Oh no, so this is an issue now on functions, right? Failed to open stream, no suitable wrapper could be found. No suitable wrapper could be found. Yeah, I think that what's happening is it's actually replacing the existing files in, or the existing functions.php file. Let's see. Let's go into local, open up the site, app, public, WP content, themes, go into the original theme, and let's open up this functions file. Yeah, what's essentially happening is when we create a functions.php file, it's just going to override this entire thing. And there's a lot of stuff in here that we need. So let's copy and paste this really quick into this functions, just to see if that fixes the issue. I'll refresh. So we have a different one now. Wrapper is disabled in the server configuration. I'm gonna hit trust on the certificate to make sure it's not an SSL issue. We're gonna refresh and see. Okay, let's troubleshoot this error. Yeah, it's failing to load the file that we're pointing to. Like if we get rid of that right here, we save it, and I refresh this, it should work. No? It's actually still broken. Oh, so it says it's previously declared, which means that it's actually using the regular functions.php. So let's drop all of this. that fixes it. But then when we require is when it breaks, right? Yeah. So it's got to be this get style sheet directory URI. I'm just gonna empty out this file to see if the error is with the file content, which I don't think so. Yeah, it's not the file content. It's actually the way that we're enqueuing all this stuff. So it's this get style sheet directory URI is not working. Before it was get template directory. Oh, so URI gives you a URL, and that's what's causing this because we're passing in like HTTP or whatever. Get theme file path. Let's try that. Let's see where we're at with this. Oh, so it works. That means that now this functions file should be pointing to this ACF blocks file, which means that there should be a blank testimonial block. So let's go really quick, edit this page, and we should be able to add a testimonial block that has no content in it. Then when we preview the page, we should see the H1 that we created. Type in testimonial. Now we have this testimonial block, excuse me. And now we can see the content, which is this H1 that says this works. Very cool. Excuse me. So there's one more step here, and the step is we want to also set it up in a way where each individual block has their own style sheet. So in this inc ACF blocks file, we want to also add an enqueue style and potentially an enqueue script location. So we're gonna do that really quick. Do none of these have scripts? No, they just have style, and that's fine. Style is all we need for now. But essentially right now what's happening is this ACF block is only loading the render template, which is the PHP template, and we also want to add this enqueue style. So we're going to just change the stuff. And then we're going to come in here and we're going to update this to H1, color red important. And now we're going to do that other step again. We're going to just edit the page and we're going to see if when we add that block, if it's red or not. Hit update and let's see if it's red on the other side. If not, we know we made a mistake somewhere. So we have it here on the bottom, but it's not red. The question is this loading up any relevant file? So I'm going to open up this theme parts. Here we can see we're loading up the CSS. So it is working. Oh, I just messed up the code. Here we go. Save that. Refresh. And now our H1s are red. Very cool. So now we've got the block set up and we can start to actually code this thing. So let's take a look at our XD file again, which we got here. And let's go and actually start to code this. What I like to do is I like to code it first, just the front end, make it look good. And then once that's done, we'll go in and we'll actually create the backend panel, and then we'll switch things out so that it's using the dynamic content and not the static content. So let's do that. We're gonna go and put this on my other monitor for now, and we're just gonna start making the code here. So I'm gonna get rid of this CSS now that I know it works. I'm gonna get rid of this HTML, and we're gonna go and create a section. That section is gonna be called a testimonial block. Next, inside of this section, we're gonna have an image, and we're gonna have probably a div. And this div, we'll call it testimonial content. Inside of that, we'll have, let's say, a p tag. And we're just gonna copy and paste this stuff here. Then under that, we're gonna have their name. Create that as a span. Okay. And for the image, I'm just gonna use a placeholder for now. So I'm gonna use this person does not exist. This just generates images for you. I can just open this image or save this image. There you go. And again, this is just for testing purposes. You don't want to actually use this stuff, but for us to just kind of get this thing put together, it's gonna make the process a lot easier. So I'm just gonna go into media and I'm gonna upload this image so that we have access to it. And look here, this is the perfect example of why you need to look at your URLs. I accidentally tried to do this on the staging environment when we want to do this on the local environment, right? So let's go back to our local environment and just make sure that that's where we're making these changes. Okay, so media, add new, upload, and let's grab this URL. As soon as it's done. Okay, let's grab that URL and we'll use that URL as our image source. Alt, let's add an image for now. All of that stuff will be updated in a second. All right, so let's see what we got so far. Let's refresh. here. We scroll down. Now we can see our image, our text, and then the name, but no styling, right? So let's go in and start to create this styling. What I like to do is just kind of work in my browser to start. So I'm gonna go and hit inspect, and we're just gonna kind of get started here. Usually I would work with this in another monitor, but because you guys are here, I want to make sure that you guys can see everything. So we're just going to leave it as is. So section testimonial block, we got our image, and then we've got our div. This testimonial content div is pretty straightforward. There's a background color that's white. There's padding on it of say 30 pixels. And again, I've just got this on my other monitor so I can take a look myself. We'll probably up that quite a bit. So testimonial content, inside of that we have the P tag, and we want to change the text to be font family, Poppins, sans serif, font weight, bold, and then font size 24 pixels. Yep. Now under that we've got the span, so testimonial content, and we're targeting the span under that, and we want that, it's going to be same size and same everything. So we're actually just going to extend this one to target both, and then we're going to write another one here just for the span to change the color. There we go. Now we've got this starter block, which is not exactly what we want, but it's not looking too bad either. But let's go and actually grab this image. So testimonial block, image. I'm gonna just remove the section. There. And we're gonna say border radius 100%. And we're gonna say max width is 100 pixels. And actually, let's go up to 125. We've got 140 in the design, but I think that's a little big. Next, we're gonna actually align things properly. So we're gonna take this testimonial block, and I'm going to set this up as, I think, position relative. Then we're going to take this image and we're going to set it to position absolute. Set left to negative. If this is 125 pixels, half of 125, 62.5. So left will do negative 62.5 pixels. And for this testimonial content, we're actually going to update this padding so that the left side has more. I'll do 90 pixels on the left. Okay. Now for this location, we're going to do top and bottom 50%. Yeah, I didn't think so. Probably 40%. So this is horizontal align position absolute. And I'm just going to check to see how these guys are doing it usually. Yeah. I wish I knew everything, guys, but I don't. I often have to look things up. Sorry, guys. I received an important email there. This is still loading here. Okay, so they use transform, I guess. Oh, this is a forum. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So let's see how we can center this. It looks like they're just using this translate property and then top 50%, but yeah, let's try that transform and let's see if it properly centers it at 50%. Do top 50%. Let's do transform. Hold on. That actually does it. Okay. So this should be all the code we need for now. We won't worry about the mobile side of things right now. But let's go. I copy and pasted all the work we did. We pasted it into the CSS file. Now, when we reload the page, we can see the actual block. So let's go into this backend really quickly. And we're gonna take this that just says this works. We're gonna move it up to where we want these to be. And where we want these to be is inside of these columns, right? And then the columns, we don't want it full width, we'll leave it wide width. Let's get rid of these originals that we had. And let's paste in this block that we created everywhere. Go ahead and hit update. And let's see how this looks. Actually, in our design, now that I remember, we did 2 columns. So let's actually reduce the columns here from 3 over to 2. And we're just gonna duplicate this. Hit update. And let's see what we're working with here. So let's refresh here. Now we've got our little blocks. Well, we do have some spacing issues here. So I actually want to change the width of that because it's a little tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this columns from full width to wide width, and then I'm going to add inside of that a class called section inner. And we're going to see how that reacts. What I'm trying to do is I want it to essentially be as wide as this part, not necessarily this inner content. So yeah, unfortunately the full width is just not working for that. And section inner isn't doing what I thought it would. Let's see. Oh, that padding is coming from header inner. Let's see. No, it's even worse. We got our page here. Let's go back to wide width. Let's remove that. And let's see what we can do to space things out a little bit. We might have to create a container class for this, just to have everything properly spaced. Here you can see we've got max width and a width set on this column block. Wondering what this would look like with just one. I think for the sake of time, guys, we're just gonna do it with one testimonial or one column, just because I don't want to sit here and play with CSS for a long time. So we're gonna do that. We're just gonna have them stacked. We're gonna see what's going on with all the spacing, right? So there was a lot of padding on testimonial block. So we're gonna go to testimonial block. We're just gonna do padding 0. Let's see what else is creating all this space here. That seems to be it. So let's do that. We now have the front end CSS done. I'm gonna add this other button that we have up here to the bottom of the page. And then we decided that we're gonna move this block above. Okay. So let's go ahead and set up the backend panel for this. So I'm going to go into the backend custom fields, add new. And we're going to call this block testimonial. And again, the 3 fields that we're going to have are the image. So image, and we'll call this testimonial image. Set the field type to image. We'll leave it with the default settings. Next, we have quote. Say testimonial quote is the field name. And these field names need to be unique. It's very important that they are. Otherwise, it's just not going to save or retrieve data. And then we've got the author, which is the quote author. And then that's just text. The quote is just text. The author is just text. And then we've got the image. Next, we're going to set up the location rules. And we're going to set this to show if the block is equal to testimonial. And if you've gone through the process up until now, you set up this ACF blocks file. This is looking directly at this ACF register block type function. And it's saying, hey, these are the blocks that are available. Which one do you want to add this content to? So let's go ahead and hit publish. Now, if we go into this backend and we refresh, we should see some backend panels now to control this stuff. So for example, if we click on it, we can now see image, quote, and author as fields. If we click here, we can see those filled out. Let's go and just really quickly fill these out. Got this one. Let's grab another quote here. Grabbing this quote from my LinkedIn where I know it's at. There we go. Easy. Update. Now, if we go and we refresh our page, the problem is that we won't see that change. And the reason why is that we still don't have dynamic fields. So we're going to go really quickly and set up all these fields to be dynamic. And the easiest way to do that is using that plugin. So let's go into that backend. Once we've saved our block, if we scroll down and we have this plugin installed, it's actually going to give us everything that we need. So we can actually just kind of copy and paste this and use it as a starting point. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just paste this into the very beginning. And now here you can see kind of what we've created automatically versus what we have, and it's not too different. What we're going to do here is we're actually just going to add some of these classes in. So we have a testimonial content class that in a div, and that is controlling or encapsulating the quote and the author, right? We know that the quote is using a p tag, and we know that the author is using a span tag. So we're going to transfer these in. Then we've got this div. I'm going to change it to a section. Actually, no, we're going to leave it as a div. Now that I think of it, this is just a component. It's not an actual section. It's just a block. So we're going to leave that, and then we're going to pass in the ID here. So block testimonial is the class. We're going to leave that as is, and we're actually going to change all references of testimonial dash block to block dash testimonial. Or save it. We're going to get rid of our old code. Right now we have testimonial block as the class. Right, we've got our image here, same as the other one, and then we've got this testimonial content that I forgot to close the div on. So we've got this, and we've got that. So now, in theory, we should be able to delete our old code, save, and we should be able to see the new testimonial in here. It will probably break all the other ones because they don't have content, but that's okay. But now we can see here we've got the image and we've got the testimonial. So let's go in and let's fill out some of these other ones with actual content. Again, I'm just going to pull up my Google profile over on another screen. That will help me just pull in these reviews a little bit faster. So let's go and set these up so we can edit them. for the images, I'm gonna have to go and collect some images. And easiest way to do that for me is just Instagram. So that's what I'm doing, opening up Instagram. Sorry guys, I've got Instagram on another screen. It's just taking forever to load. This way I can just steal the thumbnails that people have for their profile pictures. Save a little bit of time here. Not gonna be the best quality images, but at least they'll be here set up. We're gonna do maybe one more testimonial, and then I think we should be good to push. We can always add more later. That's kind of the point. Sometimes I feel like finding images is one of the hardest parts. I got one, but this thing's like 4,000 by 6,000, so let me edit down the size a little bit here. Oh God, I got Loom installed. So my shortcut for cropping or changing the canvas size will randomly shoot confetti. It's really random. So we'll do much smaller size. We'll do, let's say 200 by 200. It doesn't need to be a large photo at all. And we'll just scale in her face here. Try to keep that center, knowing that it's going to be in a circle and things are going to get cropped up. And delete this extra one. Add Suzanne's image in. Now let's go ahead and save, update. Okay. Refresh our local. Oh, I don't know if that's saved. There's no content coming here. How strange. Not sure why most of them are working and the last one I did isn't. A little weird. I'm gonna just hit refresh on the back end and see what's going on. Yeah, it looks like it didn't save for whatever reason. Try that again. Let's look at what we got. Cool. So now we've got our testimonials here. We can add as many as we want. I'm going to add just a spacer under this button really quickly. There we go. And the last thing I'm going to do, there. So this is our local site now that we've made some changes. We moved this to the top. We've got our checklist, and then we've got testimonials with another call to action at the bottom. So now that that's done on our local environment, let's go and actually push this up to our staging environment. And close out all this stuff we've been working on. But let's see how easy it is to actually push this stuff up. So we pulled down an hour ago from staging, and we've got our local environment here with all these changes. Before I go and make any more pushes, I'm gonna go and commit my work. So I'm gonna run git status. It's gonna tell me all the files we changed. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and git add -a, which will add all of those files. And now let's go ahead and commit. And we'll set the commit message to created testimonial block. Now let's go ahead, run git push origin master. This will update our GitHub repository with all this other code that we've created. That way, if anything goes wrong, we can very easily kind of go back and see what changed in our code. Now that that's done, we can go here and we can actually just use this other icon that says push to WP Engine, and we can go and push to UX Hacks and push to staging. We can click include database, and that'll include all the changes that we made to our database and to our files, or to our uploads, excuse me. And now we can go ahead and hit push. Now while that's working, let's go and pull up our staging so we can see how it looked before, and make sure that now it looks like our local environment. So here's our staging. Looks exactly like our live site still. All right, let's pull up the live site. This is our live site, this is our staging site, and we want it to look like our local site. What's up, Funky Monkey? How are you, man? All right, so we want it to look like our live site, which again has the testimonial blocks. So we went ahead and clicked push. It should give us a message when this is done uploading files to WordPress. And from there, we can just go review all of our changes on staging. We could potentially make some updates there, like updating our plugins, making sure everything is working, and then we can go ahead and just push this over to our production environment very quickly through our WordPress backend, or excuse me, through our staging backend. You could do a patch directly from your local environment to your production environment, but I don't generally. I like to push everything over to staging, check to make sure that everything is working on staging, and then from there I'll sync staging with master or with production. I very rarely will ever push directly to production unless it's a very small patch. So this step might take a little bit. Just kind of hold it, hang in there while this uploads. It's taking a little bit longer than I expected, so I'm gonna step away for a couple seconds or for a minute or two, just take a quick water break, and I will be right back. Cool? See you guys in just a minute. All right, guys, sorry about that. Thanks so much for waiting, but now we're all done here. We should be able to refresh our staging website, and it should look exactly like our local website. Yep, so now we can see that it's changed. And now we've got our testimonial blocks that we created. So let's come in here to the backend, and let's just make sure that everything is working. Let's update our plugins, update anything that we need to update, and then we can go ahead and just push this over to our live website, and we'll be done. All right. So again, let's go to that page. Which is home. Now we've got our blocks. Looks good. Let's go in and just make a couple updates here. Update our plugins. Just make sure the site is secure. We can update WordPress versions, so I'm going to do that as well. You want to do this on a staging environment, not on your live environment, in case anything breaks. You can catch it before you go and patch things over. That's exactly why we want to do it on a different environment here. Now that that's done, WordPress version has been updated. Let's just check the site, make sure nothing broke. Make sure this still works. Yep. So let's go and update our plugins now. I'm just gonna go and hit update plugins, select all, update plugins. That'll go and just kind of start that process for me. Okay, now that that's done, we only have one update left, and that is for a theme that we're not using. So I'm gonna just go in and delete the 2021 theme. We don't need it. Says I got a comment here in Spanish. Okay, so Let's check our site again, make sure nothing's broken. Looks good. All right, so now we're ready to get staging and essentially push that up to our live website. So let's go into our backend for our hosting. Okay. Go to UX Hacks. Now what we'll do here is very, very easy. We're just gonna go and click copy environment. And we're gonna copy from staging over to live. And before we do that, actually, we're going to create a backup point right now. Just because we made all those updates to like the plugins and stuff, we're just gonna go and create a backup. Updated plugins and WP version. I'm gonna go ahead and create that backup. It's gonna take a few minutes, but as soon as that's done, we'll be able to just go and click a button and it will automatically sync up our live and staging environments. There are plenty of ways that you can do this manually. It's just kind of a pain. But they have migration plugins that you could use. Depending on the tool you're using, they might have migration services that they can help you with. But WP Engine makes it really, really easy, and so does Flywheel for that matter, to go and actually just merge your two environments together. It does take a few minutes though to create the backup, so we're just waiting on that. I've got my email just open in my other window, waiting for that notification to come through. Okay, looks like it's ready. If I refresh, we should see a new backup point. There we go. Now we can go production, say copy environment, and we're gonna use the source, which is UX Hack Staging. We're gonna use this new backup that we created, and we're gonna send that to the target environment, which is production. So we're gonna push staging to production, and we're gonna push over the database and the file system. Right, when this is done, we'll send a notification. Preview, again, confirming we're copying from staging over to live. Hit copy environment, and now this is automatically gonna go and just push everything that we've got here in staging over to our live website. And from there, we're done, right? We went and we created a child theme. We set up a staging environment. We set up a local environment. We set up a GitHub repository. We pushed up to that GitHub repository. We created our own blocks using ACF. We automatically had these blocks generate these ACF JSON files so that it's very, very easy to sync things up, right? You can see here the block that we created and all the settings for that block, right? Created a file here that allows us to import the blocks and then automatically save the JSON. We created our template block, our template parts folder with our block, our testimonial block inside. We have our CSS file, super short, 23 lines, and then we've got our PHP file, which most of it was generated automatically again by that ACF plugin by HookTurn. We've got an empty functions file that's just requiring this ACF-blocks file, and then we use get theme file path for that inside of a child theme. And that's it. We've got our style sheet that is just saying that, hey, this is a child of 2020, and then we're importing the 2020 style sheet. And that's pretty much it. That's our child theme. It's a very, very straightforward setup. If we refresh here, in just a couple minutes, we should see this completed. I'm still waiting for that notification to come in. But the good thing about using this kind of process is that there's no downtime, right? Like I don't need to pull my website down for a couple minutes to apply this patch or make updates. It stays up, traffic stays up, and then in a couple minutes it'll just apply the update, right? And that's what you're seeing here. Right now we've got our testimonial block that we created, and we've got our live. Looks exactly like our staging, which looks exactly like the local environment that we created. And from there, you know, it's just a matter of what other things do you want to change on your website. Do you want to create new blocks? Want to create new templates? You know, it's kind of up to us what we want to do, but now we've got the development workflow to be able to do it. Now, whenever we want to make changes to our theme, we start local, start the site, and then we can go and start hacking this this code. We can create new blocks if we want to, new templates, whatever it is that we want to create, we can start to do that. And all of it is getting managed through our Git repository. Right, so any changes that we make, track through here, right? And the best part about this is now we can start collaborating with people, right? Now that we have this workflow, we can go and invite other developers in and say, hey, you know, we want you to work on this theme or this template, work on this block, etc. And they'd be able to work directly here in this code base and kind of extend it with you. So that pretty much wraps everything up. Hopefully you guys learned something new. I had a lot of fun today. Sorry for the technical difficulties in the beginning. We had a part of the stream where there was no audio coming out, so sorry about that, guys. But hopefully you guys found this helpful. Hopefully you guys learned something new. If you like content like this, please consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel. If you're already subscribed or you refuse to do so for whatever reason, please consider leaving a like on this video. That really helps us out on whatever platform you're watching, just kind of understand who's engaging with our content. And if you have any questions or any suggestions, feel free to leave me a comment. I'll be in the comments responding to every single comment that I receive, as usual. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to continuing the series. I think one of the next things we're going to be doing for the UX Hacks website is going to be designing a case study page. So that's something that you can look forward to very, very soon. And then we'll be going through the entire process we went through today to actually develop that theme or that template that we're going to be designing for case studies. So we'll be going and setting up blocks, doing all of the good stuff that you saw today and actually getting that stuff deployed to our live site. So that's something that you're looking forward to. Definitely let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.